What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Talking to the Dog Benfica Podcast, coming to you live every week with the latest developments on Benfica. With me tonight, Cristiano Oliveira.
What's up?
And also Steve Santos, back from international duty. He is back. What's going on, Stevie?
It was a long international break, about a month. Nice to be back, guys. Nice to be back.
Yeah, we've missed you here, man. I mean, we've missed you. I think Peasy's missed you. I think Benfica's missed you. So we're glad to have you back, Steve.
A lot of people that missed him.
Yes.
Anyway, on tonight's podcast, we will look back at the Basel for as much as hurt feelings that maybe bring back. We'll also look back at the last weekend game, the last domestic game for Benfica against Marítimo and the Madeira Island. We will also discuss a big topic here in North America, and a lot of us North Americans, the Eusebio Cup cancellation. And we look ahead to October. There's a lot of games in October that Benfica will have to play. And right now, at the moment where they're at, it's gonna be tricky. But before we get to the end, let's start at the beginning. Benfica match day 2, Champions League. You like that? It's nice, huh? Match day 2 of the Champions League had Benfica travel to Switzerland to play Basel, a game that Benfica, after losing to CSKA in Lisbon, needed to go into Switzerland and grab some points. Vitoria mentioned against CSKA, we got to go get these points somewhere, and Benfica traveled to Switzerland to get the points, but I'll give you the lineup.
They got points, but other
yeah, they got points, all right. I think more points if you refer to points as stitches. Julie Cesar was in goal. Almeida, Luizão, Jardel, and Grimaldo in the defensive line. Feza and Pizzi in the middle. Zivkovic and Servi on the wings. Jonas behind Jimenez. All right, before we get into some, let's just discuss a couple things, right? So I'll start with you, Cristiano. Ruben Dias, who had been playing the past 3 games, now we all of a sudden travel to Basel, and he sees himself on the bench in detriment of Jardel.
Mm-hmm. I think we touched on this on the last podcast, by the way.
Yeah,
I said, let's see if he gets to start here against European competition on the road. Let's see if the confidence is there in the management. And obviously it wasn't there. Jardel's fit. He plays. Obviously, we've seen that. Luizão's going to play. And it was one of those games that Benfica, having lost at home to CSKA, they kind of had their backs against the wall. They needed to come away with, I mean, at the very least, a draw on the road. And he decided to go with the veterans, with the guys with the experience at this level. Ruben Dias has shown promise, but no experience at this level. And therefore, I totally understood why he did it. Whether it worked out or not in the end, I totally understand why Jardel was back in the starting lineup.
Yeah, I mean, but you're also looking at Jardel, who hasn't played a game in a few weeks. No game rhythm, and with Luizão not being the fastest guy, it's questionable.
Well, but that's where Jardel comes in. Even though he seems to have lost some pace over the last season and a half, in particular, since he's been picking up injury after injury, his attributes are that he's, physical, and he's a lot faster than Luizão. He's not the fastest, but he's a lot. So, it's kind of the reason why he threw him in there, along with the one most, glaring thing here is experience.
Yeah.
That's why I think at the end of the day, he got the start over Ruben Dias. You don't want to put too much pressure on a kid that you're still trying to develop, a kid that you want to hopefully take the next step and be your one of these guys that's back there for the foreseeable future. So I think they didn't want to throw too much at the kid just yet.
Yeah, Steve, what's your take? I share Cristiano's thing. I think that's what the logic was.
That's the logic, but it doesn't mean that I agree with it. Ruben Dias was one of the few positive notes in the previous 2 or 3 games. If you are looking to move forward and you could see that things aren't going well, it might be time to take these types of risks. And I think that Rui Vitoria got this one wrong, which is easy to say now in hindsight after losing 5-0. But Jardel looks in very rough shape. Yes, he was once upon a time a very physical and a very fast player, but right now he's seeming to struggle with pace. He's seeming to struggle with reading the game, and that's all down to rhythm and not playing enough with over the past year and a half. And if that doesn't show up in practice, then fine, but it's really showing up in matches. And for me, I understand your logic. I understand why Rui Vitoria went that way, but I'm thinking that going with the safe and easy and going with the guys that you kind of trust at this point in time is going to give us even more headaches. I think that's not the way forward now. I don't think that's the way that we're going to come out of this crisis or bad phase or whatever it is that we're talking about. So
yeah,
I don't agree with it, although I do agree that's why he did it.
Look, I have plenty of reasons to sit here, and we'll get into them, to sit here and kill Rui Vitoria. But in this case, I should give him a pass, because 9 out of 10 coaches would go back to the veterans, to the guys that they've gone to battle with over the years. And again, Jardel wasn't demoted because of his play. It was more so because he wasn't fit at the time, or he picked up some type of knock and he wasn't fit. And so I really have no problem, because again, the coaches are going to go back with the guys that they could count on and they've counted on in previous battles. And Ruben Diaz, as good as he's looked in certain games, I think it's too early to throw him out there to the wolves. Now, having seen the outcome, Steve, and then the game eventually against Maritimo over the weekend, having seen these types of performances, I think now it's kind of like, well, I gave this guy an opportunity. I've trusted him. This is the type of guy that's been on my, it's been on my good side over the last couple of seasons. The guys have my back and taking care of what I need to take care of over the last couple of seasons. But right now, it's not working. I think now he'll start risking it a little bit more. But I totally understand. So there's plenty to kill Rui Vitoria over. But I think in this case, I'm not sure I wouldn't do the same thing.
Yeah. The other change to the lineup was Jimenez, and this is one that, there's somewhat of logic behind it, and I know that Seferovic has dropped a little bit, but look, the mental aspect, Seferovic is playing in a home country. Obviously, he's got extra motivation to play. Steve, anything that you could point out in this change from Jimenez to Seferovic? I know that there's a mobility factor with Jimenez.
Well, Jimenez has got that aggressiveness to him. He's very in your face. He's always looking like he's hustling, and he's like a warrior type of player. Rui Vitoria went into an away game and thought maybe that's what he needed. Pile that onto Seferovic at the moment. You guys said it on the last pod, and we've heard it from, I can't remember who, that he starts off well but fizzes out, and that's probably the other reason that he went with Jimenez. Seferovic used to, or when he first started playing with us, the first few games, he used to attack the space behind the defender. He used to vary up his movements, and right now he's looking like Mitroglou all over again. A little bit too static, a little bit only wanting the ball to his feet. Not attacking the spaces, only showing up in the channels on occasion, and it's not behind the fullback. It's just there sitting in front of the fullback, say, okay, give me the ball, and I'll play with it, facing the defense. We need a little bit more of stuff going on behind defenses instead of facing them.
In between lines.
Not so much, but behind the back line. In between lines, we're missing big time as well.
Big time.
And I'm thinking that's maybe why Seferovic is trying to show up in that space. It's more like in between lines instead of trying to penetrate behind the defense, and that's not working at the moment. And that might be why he went with Jimenez. You don't gain or lose much, I think, when you go from Seferovic to Jimenez. So I was a lot more against the Jardel move than that one.
Right. See, I have a problem with this. I think Seferovic, I think he's been a product of his own success here early on in the season. He came out scoring out of the gate. And then it seems like, obviously, not just his scoring output has slowed down, but also the team. I think overall, the team itself, their performance is also dipped. And some guys are trying to do more than what they should. And again, Steve, you're absolutely correct with his change in style of play. But I'm not sure that's a Seferovic thing, or if that's more of a technical thing, a coaching thing, because the whole team, it seems, you put in Jimenez, and they're still not getting in behind defenders. The only difference is Jimenez is a little bit more aggressive, but I think Seferovic is just as mobile. I think Seferovic at times makes better decisions with the ball, even though majority of them he's shooting 9 out of 10 times, but still that 1-2 chance that he has, I still think he makes a better decision with the ball than Jimenez. And at the end of the day, I go back to what I said a minute ago, which is he's a product of his own success. I think he came out of the gate scoring goals, and now his form is obviously dipped, and everyone's going to point to his previous experiences in other leagues, but this is a totally different league. This is in Portugal. I don't give a crap what they say. I love Portuguese football, and I'll defend it, but it's not nowhere near the level of the Bundesliga. And so I can understand his dip in play at that league, but in Portugal, I want to give this kid, not a kid, but I want to give this guy a little bit more of a chance rather than go based on his history, on what he's done in the past. I want to rate him based on what he's doing now. Yeah. And maybe you wanted to just throw in fresh legs. But again, Steve, he was home. More motivation. It's extra motivation for this guy to want to go out there and perform. Not that they lost, not that they got slapped out of the freaking stadium because Jimenez was in instead of Seferovic. But I'm just not sure if it's a Seferovic problem or an overall problem because, I mean, realistically, you can't name me one player that looked half decent in that game.
Well, let's talk about why they got slapped off the pitch that night. Defensively, horrible. And look, you can't all blame it on the defensive line. Yes, a lot of the blame can go to them, but I don't think you can blame it all on the defensive line. There's a lot of times that the team finds itself exposed. Defensive transitions are not working as good as they should or as they've worked in the past, and Benfica is being found. The first goal, it was a counter. If I'm not mistaken, it was a set piece on the other end by Benfica corner. They come out, and Benfica's too slow to recover, and Basel was very quick. And, they showed up in front of Julius Cesar.
That's the one thing they had. I forget the guy's name now. Up front.
Elneny.
I forget.
Something.
Whatever the guy's name was. And he's the difference in this game. His speed compared to, with the exception of Grimaldo, there was nobody else on that back line. See, I disagree with you on it's not all the back line. I think 90% of it is the back line because these guys can't defend. They can't cover nobody. They can't cover space. They looked absolutely lost. Anytime Basel let the dogs loose, Benfica was doomed. Absolutely doomed.
Yeah. I think that, there's not much. Go ahead, Steve, if you want to add
There's the team, the way it was set up to defend last year is missing a lot of vital parts that it no longer has. And it is struggling to find the right way to defend now. With Julius Cesar, you lose a lot of the protection of the back line that you used to have with Ederson. Before we could play with a high line and not get exposed because of Luizão's lack of pace, because Luizão's smart enough to know when to press high, and he sees that the ball is covered, and there's no real way for him to get beat with a easy pass and a run from behind. So he squeezes a space and he brings the whole line up. Ederson's way up high, and that space that is behind him, Ederson's quick enough to grab that ball before the attacker can get to it. And now we've lost that. So Luizão strong suits are now being questioned. His brain is what's fast. His body's not fast. So him reading that situation and forcing that, he can't do that because Julius Cesar sits further back. I can't remember the game well enough for it now, but there is a ball that I think it's a second goal that Julius Cesar stays on his line, and he could have came out.
In Almeida Stadium. I thought that was more in Almeida, but I actually did think that.
No, it's not the Almeida one. It's one towards the left.
It goes into the box. It gets crossed. No, that goes into the right.
It's one towards the left where Julius Cesar actually makes the save.
Oh, that was the first goal. That was the first goal.
But he could have been there a lot sooner, and it would have been dead.
I thought he got to it, man. Look, he got to it. That goal, I'm not going to blame it on the goalie or the defense. It was the very first goal.
Was it?
It was when they broke through.
He was slow to react. He was very slow to react, and he still made the save, but then it comes out to another defender. If he was quicker to react, the play would have been dead before that. That the team defended in a certain way based on the players that were there. Without trying to dig at Rui Vitoria, but everything has always seemed like players solved the problems that were on the pitch for him. He was never able to collectively find the solutions for the problems that were there.
He never does.
Now that you have a Jardel that's in bad shape, you don't have Lindelof, you don't have Ederson. The things that worked last year are gone, and now you need to reassess and find something else that works, because you can't. The high line with Luizão is dangerous now.
Yep.
Where before it was the safest way for us to play with Luizão.
Yep.
Steve, listen. I said before, and I hope you. Whether it's this game, whether it's a game in the Liga, whether it's the game in the tactics are always the same with Rui Vitoria. Last year, this year, the difference is last year, and I keep repeating this, and you guys keep laughing at me and mocking me. That's fine. Do what you got to do. I personally don't give a crap, because my opinion is my opinion. I'm going to call it how I see it. When you go into a goddamn horse race on horses and the opposition's on donkeys, I don't give a crap if I'm 300 pounds riding that goddamn horse. I'm going to beat the donkey with the 110-pound jockey, because my horse is just better than your donkey all day, every day. And I don't care. You want to blame it on Julio Cesar? Look, I know I defend Julio Cesar a lot more here than you guys do.
No.
Hold on. You could put the blame on him on certain things here and there. But at the end of the day, I think, and I love Julio Cesar, and I love Ederson. Had you put Ederson in there on Wednesday, it would have been the same embarrassment. The obvious reason for this is Benfica in the Portuguese league can get away with playing a high line, and I don't care whether it's Julio Cesar
not so
or
much
Ederson.
This year.
No, not even so much this year, but they could, because the quality of opposition in the Champions League, we've complained. Look, I know that I've said a lot of dumb crap here on the podcast. I'm the first one to. But I remember the good points for some reason. I remember the bad ones. I don't remember, but the good ones, I always remember.
Selective memory.
I said this years ago, 2 seasons ago. Luizão, play him in the Portuguese league all you want. He is not a player. I think it was against Bayern Munich. I'll go back and say this. Even though he had a very good game last year against Dortmund in the first leg, second leg he got absolutely annihilated. Luizão is a tremendous leader. I love him. The guy should have a bust in the course of them, but he is not a defender to play in the Champions League in today's world. He's way too slow. Any team with any pace up top, I don't care if it's Julio Cesar or Ederson, they're going to eat him alive. Whether it's Ruben Dias next one, whether it's Jardel, it doesn't matter. The team is not defending, because you lose the best right back in the goddamn world in Smith. Lindelof, he's one of the top 20 center backs in the world, if not even up right now. He's on the bench. That's fine. He'll get his run. He'll get his play. You guys will be impressed with the kid at some point. And then you got Ederson, who's a fantastic goalkeeper. You combine those three next to Luizão. Even Luizão, when he has his subpar games, Smith had the wheels to make up for it.
Yeah.
Lindelof had the wheels to make up for it.
Ederson can make up.
Pop Sick made it because Grimaldo was always hurt. Pop Sick was there. But right now, man, I mean, all joking aside, it's just the whole team, or no one is playing well. Jonas is scoring goals, and that's something that you obviously don't want to take away from the guy, because at the end of the day, the ultimate goal is to score goals. But he's not playing with that same pizzazz, that same style of domination that he had in years previous. But I think overall the club is just, there's no bueno, man. Everybody's just off in every tactic, every system and tactical game plan that we go into a game against Vitoria Stu, we go into again at Basel and Manchester United and Rio Ave, but it doesn't change.
Yeah.
And for years, and the last thing, I know I'm talking too much and I shouldn't, but for years, Steve, we've been sitting here complaining about certain things, and you and I look like assholes because the results are always positive.
Well, all of us three.
And it's like, that's not you. I
have been tempered.
You've been more even killed than Steve and I.
Alfredo's always tries to put a positive.
You always try to put a positive. That's why you have pointed it out. Not to say you haven't, but you've always try to be in the middle, like but that. So I mean, and we always look bad because the results were there.
Yeah.
But now all of a sudden you don't have the horses, and then you could get into Luis Felipe Vieira. And I know I'm going off on a tangent here, but you could just go so many. It depends on who you believe. The guy said, "Look, this is all I need."
Yeah, and
I'm getting lightheaded for screaming.
No, and I think that's what we've been talking about. Rui Vitoria's lack of tactical acumen here on the podcast. It's nothing new. If you are a repeat listener, if you listen to us on a regular basis, not that we're not the biggest fans of the guy, but we know that there's a lot of serious deficiencies in his tactical ability. We've been saying this forever. Of course, winning championship after championship has quieted the critics. But I think the true measure of a coach, besides man management, which he's excellent at it, is to adapt to the personnel that he has or the lack of personnel that he has and still be able to put out a good product. And I think that right now, Rui Vitoria is struggling making changes or trying to play the same way he played last year with different guys, missing key guys that allowed him to play the way he played last year and winning the championship. Now, the true measure for Rui Vitoria, whether or not he has a future at Benfica, is how he's going to get out of this. Apparently, from what Luis Felipe said, the roster was what Rui Vitoria wanted. He said, I'm good with this, so he let him roll with it. He didn't push any players on him. Everything, including Gabagool and Douglas, were Rui Vitoria's requests. Apparently, very adamant in getting these two guys. So Rui Vitoria, he has to sort this out. I think that of Volta.
What have I been complaining about every time if he gets a bad result? Guys, what do I always complain about? Coaching. That you go into these smaller, not go into, but you go into these games against these teams with way lesser players than you do. And yet these coaches are able to make halftime adjustments that our team just every day. It's
absolutely.
And again, I know it's easy to harp on, to sit here and jump on the bandwagon and kill Rui Vitoria. But, dude, we've been saying this for a while. We hope it turns around, guys. I'm not rooting against Benfica.
He's been out-coached in almost every single game this season, aside from, the shellacking of Belenenses that we had early on. But everything else, and as Cristiano mentions, there's coaches making changes to really change things around. And Vitoria is really like, I've questioned this game plan against certain teams that, there's things that are going on and you see it's time after time, the same errors. But anyway, let's move forward. 5-0, a result that probably stands along with the Celta de Vigo game.
No, it's the biggest defeat in the Champions League history for Benfica.
During the Vietnam.
No, but it's the biggest defeat now. Vietnam, that was 1999, 7-0 at Celta de Vigo. That's our biggest loss in Europe.
There was one against Olympiacos, too, that was that high.
Was, UEFA Cup. That's why the Champions League is different.
I think when we get spanked by Olympiacos also.
With JJ, I think we lost 4-1 in Greece or something.
It's not 5-0 and 7-0.
Yeah. So anyway.
I mean, it definitely goes down. Listen, look, Celta de Vigo, I mean, every time I think about Mostovoy, one of the former players dancing around, walking all over us, 7-0, that was a choice. The Porto 5-0, that was
that's the hardest one for me.
See, that was terrible. I mean, to me, it's 1A, 1B because it's 5-0 Celta de Vigo. And now this one I mean, you're talking about 3 results that, I mean, I won't soon forget. I mean, you had the 7-1? 1983 Sporting Benfica, but that, I mean, I don't even remember. Was it 7-1 or 5-1? It might have been 7-1. Yeah, 1983. I was a little kid, but as far as I can remember, Celta de Vigo Football Club de Porto, and now you throw this monstrosity up there. I mean,
Basel is really an abomination, if you will, and it's embarrassing, and especially if you guys follow the podcast, Cristiano always defends Benfica to his friends that support the Premiership and think that the Portuguese league is crap. So when he has to face his friends in times like these, definitely tough. Anyway, as far as the prospects to remaining or to go past in a Champions League, I think at this point, even if you were to win out your games outright, I think you'd still be in very bad shape. I don't anticipate Benfica going into the out of the group stages to the knockout.
If they were to win the games, the rest of the games, the 4 games,
they would go through.
Yeah, they go through, bro. Come on,
that's 12 points, but that's not going to happen.
Are they going to beat? Are they going to beat Man?
No, you said that's not what you said.
He said Steve, even if they were, he says if they were to win them out, but they're not going to.
So. All right, so let's.
Hey, according to Mourinho, they're still the toughest opposition in the group.
All right, so let's look at this.
Mourinho's being nice.
Mourinho, who by the way had Avnida named after him. After I've turned it down because they wanted to name it after me and Stu, but
so we beat CSKA, we beat Basel.
That's 6 points.
We tie Man U at the Luge.
7. That's 7 points.
Yeah, that's still not enough.
You never know
because you figure Basel is either Basel.
All you need is a draw between both of those teams. They'll both be at 5, and then they both lose to Manchester United, and you're there at 7.
I don't know.
Well, what do you mean you don't know? That means Benfica would beat Basel again.
You think Benfica is going to go to CSKA and win the game in Russia?
Nobody's saying they're going to. I'm just saying the math that is still possible. They're still mathematically alive, even with 7 points. That's all I'm saying.
Marítimo. Benfica traveled to the Madeira Island. Fortunately, no fog. Madeira Island. Fortunately, no fog. So the plane was able to land. I'll give you the lineup real quick. Júlio César, Almeida, Luizão, Jardel, and Grimaldo. Face a Pizzi, Salvio, Servi, Jonas, and Jimenez.
Same lineup. Right.
So same lineup.
I apologize. I'm struggling.
I'm struggling. The opportunity to you drink and I'll go on.
Yeah.
You give them the opportunity to basically redeem themselves.
Yeah. And that's it. That there's a mental aspect to putting the same guys out there, right? So if you go with a plan B, if you go with a different lineup and basically you substitute for these 11 guys, all of a sudden, and it doesn't work against Marítimo, you come up with the same result that you came out this past weekend. The guys that you sat, you're probably going to lose those guys. So I think it was good that Vitoria kept the confidence with the same guys, and I think the mental aspect and the man management skills, obviously we don't question, but again, slow, score the first goal very early, and then we just chill for the rest of the game and let Marítimo bring the game at us. I think that at the end of the half, the game could have been 1-1 for Marítimo. We could have finished the game, and then the way the game was going on and Marítimo, the way Marítimo was pressing and playing, the way we were allowing Marítimo to play, and the fact that we couldn't put the game away, really. It was really watching the game, and it's almost expected that Marítimo tie this game.
Yeah, we've said it time and time again. The way that this team, even when it was a better team, which is obviously not as good now after the summer, the way it tried to manage games was trying to defend, and it didn't want the ball. It invited the other team towards them, but it's now not set up the same way it was before, so it's going to struggle even more. I mean, even last year, with the better players, we still, in games like this, were lucky at times to win a game instead of tie a game, or tie a game instead of lose a game. But that bit of luck is not with us at the moment. I mean, there are other things other than just tactics and player performances. Well, player performances have something to do with it, but there's something else going on. I mean, is it just me that thinks this team is either unfit or unmotivated? There's something there that the intensity level looks extremely low.
Yeah, I mean, this early in the season, you should have some kind of intensity level, and I think that it's a mixture. I mean, the team is slow. There's no ideas. In the years past, like you said, luck played a part. Also, the individual talent would come up and really disguise some of the deficiencies we're having. And this year, we haven't had any. I think that we haven't seen Pizzi all year.
Or maybe the team listened to the offseason concerns that every single one of it had, and their confidence is just shot. I mean, the guys aren't playing to the same level. I don't know what kind of preseason they had, but like you mentioned, these guys, Fesha getting hurt right away, Pizzi getting hurt, and I know these things happen, but there's something missing. There's imagination. There's that hunger that you guys are talking about, and it's just, man, it has not looked good. Luckily, our biggest rivals both tied this week, 0-0.
Yeah, but we didn't make the points.
But we had an opportunity to gain points, but at the same time, Steve, having also dropped points ourselves, at least we didn't get further away. You know what I mean? That's
half empty, half full.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you could have looked at it. We dropped an opportunity to make points, to make up points, but at least playing this terrible, at least they didn't get further ahead from us. So, and I know I mentioned this on the little video I posted and this stuff, and I'm not making excuses for Benfica, guys, because if you listen to the goddamn video, I said, isn't it, both teams had to play on the field, but at the end of the day, when you play on such a crappy surface, right? that's always going to favor the team that doesn't have the caliber of players that Benfica has, because those guys just put the pé para frente. They don't need to create play. They don't need to control the ball and build up play and switch. It's just put the pé para frente and counter and try to defend and counter. So the pitch did not help both teams, but I think in a situation like this, it favors the lesser team than it does.
And also, that's the reason I think why Salvio got to start ahead of Seferovic, because Salvio is more of a trator guy, 4x4 guy, other than Seferovic. Seferovic is a guy that likes to play with the ball at his feet, and I don't think that the field was the best for him. But here's the thing, right? When we talk about injuries all the time and how we always have guys injured, and up until Rui Vitoria came on and started coaching our team, we didn't have these problems with injuries from what I can remember. There might have been some in there, but not like this. We never seen anything like this during JJ's reign. And we've had a lot of guys come up, Renato Sanches, Lindelof. All those guys really came up out of necessity because we had injuries. The only guy that he really launched was Nelson Smith.
Well, because they sold, they didn't go buy anybody else. But they either knew, they sold Maxi, and then they knew what they had. Yeah.
Other than that, Lindelof came up out of necessity. Ederson came up out of necessity. Renato Sanches came up out of necessity. So all those guys were connected with some injury or suspensions, but more to injuries. But food for thought. That the team under Rui Vitoria is a team that has a lot more injury occurrences than what we've had in the past.
I don't want to put down Rui Vitoria. I think that's on the preparador físico. I'm sorry, because I don't think Rui Vitoria is the one that's making these guys run.
But they're a team.
Exactly. But at the end of the day, it falls on the coach.
You approve the plan, right?
At the end of the day, it falls on the coach, but that comes down. To me, that's more of a preparador físico thing. Steve, you agree?
There's something wrong. Training regime, there's something wrong. Who's behind it, I couldn't tell you. I'm not privy to that information, but there is something wrong. Fesa, understandable. He's been injury prone his whole life. Salvio lately has had injury issues as well, even in JJ's time.
Jardel
is not an injury player.
It's the length. The one thing also, it's the length of injuries. How long these guys are out for.
Grimaldo looks like another injury prone guy too. That's another thing. Backroom staff, you have players, Fesa being number one, that are known injury problems. You do not go out and recruit, unless Felipe Augusto is your recruitment, a player that is, I don't want to say like for like, but at least a similar player that will fit into the system or non-existent system that Rui Vitoria has for when Fesa is hurt, because you're guaranteed that Fesa isn't going to play at the very best 25% matches in a year.
I've mentioned that here already, Steve, while you were out, that Benfica they should have had somewhat of somewhat of a clone of Fesa, a guy that plays in the same position that has the same characteristics, more or less.
Yeah, but here's a question though. So Felipe Augusto is not that. Samaris is not that. Samaris is like an afterthought at this point. There's rumors that clubs wanted to buy him, right? And Samaris still on the club, but he doesn't play. He doesn't replace Pizzi. He doesn't. What the hell Samaris doing on the club?
See, that's
money learning Portuguese.
Just ask. Look, I like Samaris, but just
I like
really
Samaris as a person as well.
Yeah, he doesn't have a role right now.
Those market things is what makes it very difficult for us to really try to judge. I mean, we don't know everything that goes on, and all that we know is we don't have the spending power to go out and buy all the players that we really want day one of the international of the break. So you kind of have to wait and see, okay, is someone really going to pay 10 mil for Samaris? Okay, then when he goes, I have this guy lined up, I'll get him. But if they don't pay that, then you're stuck with your finger in your butt looking around and you're stuck with Samaris.
Yeah, but you're not even playing. You're not using somebody. So what's the difference? He's there or he's gone. Might as well just get rid of him.
Yeah. But the idea is that Samaris is a player that can play X or Y, and you hold on to that idea, and you're stuck with him until the transfer deadline is done, and you're stuck with him, and you also didn't replace. I think that we all have this anger in us that the club didn't replace the players that we lost, which it's valid. I mean, I'm upset. We lost 3 players. We should have at least got one of these 3 players as a standout. For sure, he was going to make it in our team. For sure, he was going to work. We didn't get any. But I don't know how much control we have over things like that. As much as as crazy as that sounds, I don't know, unless you can go out and buy a player that you know is going to work for $8 million. How much control do you have?
But the player that you're paying $8 million, that Benfica's paying $8 million, is a guy
you don't have.
Sure, it's a guy that's for sure coming into your starting 11. That's exactly. Benfica now, you could have sold somebody for $10 million, got out and got a Bruno Fernandes for $8 million. Sporting got him, and he's been arguably the best player in the Portuguese league in the first half of the season. Don't act. I mean, I'm not trying to say you are, Steve, but I'm just this is for the person that wants to defend the club. Don't act like there aren't players out there that are valuable and worthy enough at $5 to $8 million euros. There's plenty. For sure. There's plenty of guys. Look, you could go out to the Eastern Europe market and buy players for $2-3 million that will be more suitable for what this Benfica wants to do right now than the guys that they have on the current roster. Difference is, guys, nobody wants to freaking admit this, but these guys aren't George Men's guys. These guys aren't the guys attached to. So it's not a club. I don't, like, Steve, again, I'm not trying to go, I'm sorry if it's coming out of you, but I don't want to hear the shit that the club doesn't have control. They do have control. They have control.
They have a vast scouting network.
They're just giving it. They're not doing it for other reasons rather than their actual football department. That's what the hell ticks me off. Because, and I'm not going off on me, that's the argument that we get from other people, Steve. And it's like, God, they telling me Benfica can't find a dude for $3 million that at least is a better, I'm not saying he's a better overall player, but you telling me you can't find a better overall defensive center mid with defensive attributes than Filipe Augusto? Because I suck at defense, but I could probably do it. But no, I can't. Defense suck. But still, there's plenty of guys that are way more defensive that will fit that role of what Benfica wants a lot better than Augusto. Look, Augusto's look terrible. I can't get on the guy because he's playing out of position. But there's got to be better than him.
You don't have to go that far. André Leão is a guy that can play in that position.
That was a name that I had in my head.
There's
but
plenty of guys.
He came from the Spanish 2nd Division back to Passos, so it was like.
And he played very well against Benfica.
He is, and he is a more like for like replacement to face.
Bro, and where did Douglas come from? Girona, whatever the hell, got Jaraf. I don't even know. I mean, these guys, Gabigol, he came from where? Inter Milan, where he sat the bench. I mean, at this rate, Patrick's not gonna buy me any goddamn Smalls. No. I can't have this. I love Smalls, but nah, come on, dude. They just did a bad job. They did a bad job because there's always these side interests. Okay, and if you recall, Steve, one of the very first pods we did this season, where I went off and I said that the club is arrogant because they think that just because they went out and got Renato and got Lindelof and every day now, we can do that all the time.
No.
Obviously, the Seychelles ain't working because it's at the Seychelles.
Not every year.
Is at the Seychelles that these guys are practicing, and that's where they're getting hurt. So the number one academy, whatever the hell you want, campus in the world, better go over there with holy water or something and visit the people, because to me, it's a trainer thing, but I think overall the club just did a bad job of putting this team together. And what ticks me the hell off is the fact that this would have been an opportunity for a historic, and I mean, it can still happen. I know that you guys, the the glass half empty or half full type of guys are going to call me in a time because it can still happen. It's still 5 point. Fine and dandy. Can't argue with you. Hopefully it still will happen. But this was an opportunity at a Penta. And this is what you do.
Well, but apparently, according to Luis Felipe Vieira,
Douglas, who can't even play anywhere, and Gabigol, who can't play nowhere. That's your answers?
According to Luis Felipe Vieira in the General Assembly that Benfica held.
The one he almost got beat up, they had to call the cops?
Last week.
That one?
You mentioned that that was all Rui Vitoria. That Rui Vitoria had the guys that he wanted. The Mitroglou cell was Rui Vitoria, Vito, the Mitroglou cell. And
Rui Vitoria vetoed it, or he didn't?
No, he allowed it.
Oh, you said veto. Okay. So he allowed it.
What that means, veto? I don't know if
I don't know what the hell
if I was
that
using the right word.
Was when you disagree, but
sorry, my bad. Yeah, he allowed he was the one that gave the green light for Mitroglou to be sold. So apparently, and from what Luis Felipe Vieira's speech at the General Assembly, he put a lot of the blame of the condition and the roster right now on Rui Vitoria.
So espera aí, Steve. I want you to talk. No, espera. I mean, I'm full of energy. I got a ton of questions because this is all. So he's putting all the blame on Rui Vitoria, but yet somehow people don't think Rui Vitoria's job is in jeopardy.
Well, that depends.
I mean, it's not working out because of his choice. This wasn't Rui Vitoria. He's trying to do the best with what we gave him, the club. No, this is if he's doing that, Steve, correct me if I'm wrong. He's pointing the finger.
That's what it sounds like.
Right.
And it's somewhat conflicting to the idea of the structure is what wins you championships. So him being part of the structure, he's actually abandoning or he's separating the structure from Rui Vitoria.
He's either taking a fall for Luis Felipe Vieira or Felipe Vieira's like, yo, I did everything I could. And if he's pointing fingers, I mean, he better turn these results around rather quickly because it won't look good at the end of the season. Steve, follow.
Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, I kind of stayed away from the assembly news. I didn't realize that Luis Felipe Vieira said that, but
I'll give you the rundown.
It doesn't look good. I mean, if he's saying that Rui Vitoria was happy with that squad, he's basically saying, well, you were happy with it, so now you come up with the goods.
Yeah.
Which, let's be honest, the teams that we've faced to date, our performances have been poor.
Hey,
like, I mean, the CSK. I watched the game live. CSKA, they're garbage. Garbage.
Steve-O, I hope
Basel's not any good.
Steve-O, I hope.
Let me talk now.
Wait, I just want to throw this in there. You could talk for. I hope that Luis Felipe is making this up. That Rui Vitoria said he was fine with this team because it just goes to if that is in fact the case, it goes to show the guy knows even less than what we originally thought. So I hope that he's making this up.
But the team that's there is good enough to have better results than what we've had to date. Punto final. There's nothing else to say. Yes, the team is weaker than last year, but Basel's not very good. Basel has one quick guy up front, and we're aware of our frailties, but they're not that good. CSKA is not good. Seriously, not good. They allowed us so much time and space to build up out of the back, and we did nothing with it. That's all on us. Where else have we lost points?
Riwaf.
Marítimo.
Right, Riwaf too, right?
Has it saying Riwaf is a good team, but still, Riwaf, all of our 11 would start for Riwaf. Come on, it's not only player quality that's holding us back right now. There is more to it, and it's pointing another finger at Rui Vitoria.
So then come out and say it, Steve. Put on your big boy pants and come out and say it. It's all coaching in your mind.
It's not all coaching.
Then wait, you just got the team that 11. Steve, you can't.
Yeah, coaching is the highest measure for me right now, no doubt about it. But somewhere along the line, somebody should have known that the team was short, at least in the back line, because it was too many components of that unit to go out at once. And you look at what's left behind, and you have to know that what's left is not good enough, or not
short.
It's short. It's not the fact that it's not good enough. The drop in quality is way too high.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still better than what we have faced so far, but to go from Lindelof to Lisandro, Ruben Diaz, or Jardel is huge. To go from Semedo to André Almeida is even worse. The Ederson, Julius Cesar is still a very competent keeper, but he's got different qualities. He's going to force you to play in a different way, which is crazy because he's just a goalkeeper, but it's the truth. So this had to have been assessed better, whether it was by Rui Vitoria, by the staff. Somebody should have done a better job with that.
I'll
look. Look, the team.
Go ahead.
From the midfield forwards to practically, with the exception of Seferovic, is the same team as last year. Yep. Defensively is nowhere near what they were last year. Okay. That being said,
another thing.
The opposition got better throughout most of their coaching. Makes a big difference in these games. I mean, the two biggest direct rivals, they're a lot better this year than what they were last year. And even the smaller teams, because the one thing that you can't take away from the Portuguese league, you can disrespect the Portuguese league in any shape and form you want, but you can't disrespect it when it comes to tactical awareness by their managers. Portuguese league is the coaches, they all know what the hell they're doing. And when you have a coach that's stagnated and you have a plantel that's actually taking a step back, to me, it's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we're getting. What are you going to say, Steve?
I don't even remember.
I think that
the way the team is built has always been lopsided towards the front.
Look,
we have wingers coming out of and players that like to play in the final third all over the place. But a defender of the same or equal quality, I mean, Rafa, Krovinovic, Carilho, who's out on loan, Salvio, Zivkovic, Servi. Look at all those players. And you left me with Andre Almeida at right back. You left me with Jardel or Lisandro at center back. It doesn't add up.
Look, if you're listening to this, we've been saying this for the longest time. This is nothing new. If you listen to us all the time, you know that we've mentioned these things. All these things that we're pointing out are things that we pointed out before. I know that there's unique issues and problems to this season, especially with the deficiencies we'll point and the shortness of guys and personnel in the last four. But none of this Vitoria thing is breakthrough stuff. This is all stuff that we've been talking about. So anyway, I wanted to keep this moving because we're already close to almost an hour. So I still got a couple things that I wanted to touch up on. The one thing was the General Assembly. So Benfica has a General Assembly every year to really present the results of revenue and profit and loss analysis that they really present to the fans every year.
The sausage, not the fans. The
right, the sausage. So every year, it's well attended, but not as attended as it was this year because obviously the moment of the team was something that compelled fans or socios to go out to one of the pavilions and really voice their displeasure. So a couple things going into this. First of all, there was a huge line to get into the pavilion. Some of the socios didn't get into the pavilion until 1 hour after it already started. So there's a level of frustration that's already built. The other thing was that there was very clear signs that the no-name boys were going to be present at this assembly. Usually they don't make themselves present or vocal at these assemblies, but there was signs and there was a little buzz that they were going to be present. So I don't know if the fact that they didn't organize it better so that sausage could get into the pavilion before it started was something that was deliberate by Benfica because they know that there was going to be some people questioning what was going on or not. The other thing is that the guy that usually presides over the table and the proceedings is Luis Nazaré. For some reason, this guy wasn't available, so another guy, Virgílio Duque Vieira, was the guy that presided over the whole thing. So apparently, this guy, I don't know if he's never done it or doesn't have experience, but apparently when they were presenting and they were giving the mic and the voice to some of the fans, there was a lot of questioning and a lot of putting down about what's going on with the club. And from what I understand, and I wasn't there, this is all stuff that I read on certain blogs, was that anytime that there was an opinion that was going against the structure or criticizing the structure, he would interrupt the fan, whoever was talking. So he would just cut him short. So there was a couple things that happened, and there was some frustration. There was a chair thrown, and it hit him, so on and so forth. So the other thing is that Luis Filipe Vieira finally spoke at the end, unrehearsed or unwritten speech. And if you read the papers, full of expletives, curse words, And some of the things that he said is that Benfica has never bought a game while during his presidency. And the other thing was the things that I said before, that Rui Vitoria was the one that said that he was happy with the roster, and that both Douglas and Gabagul were guys that were chosen by Rui Vitoria as guys to come in. So that was the things that he said.
An angry fan here is,
and also
Rui Costa was always supposedly the guy who was in charge of those types of things.
Yeah,
player recruitment.
And Mitroglou was the other thing that I mentioned, that Mitroglou was given a green light to leave by Rui Vitoria.
Which I'm not against that. That's not, a lot of people are irked by that, but I don't think that if we had Mitroglou, we would have won any of these games. Mitroglou is not okay. He scores goals, but we're not even we're not even creating chances. The game versus Marítimo, we had a chance that was a moment of skill from Jonas, and a couple ones where Sabi kind of created chances for himself 1v1. Aside from that, there was nothing. So Mitroglou can make a chance for himself.
Yeah,
I'm okay with that move.
But like when Salvio is our best player, I think that says it all.
Yeah, in recent days, yes. But that's one player on the squad that at this moment you can't question his intensity level or his commitment or his desire or his fitness. Where I have questions across the side aside from him right now.
Yeah. The other thing, and I think this is very important, is that there were questions. Benfica was questioned on whether or not the receipts from all the BTV subscriptions, or all that money that Benfica collects from BTV subscriptions, which were 30 million, if they are being handed to NOS. As you know, Benfica signed a contract with NOS, 40 million a year. But if we're giving NOS 30 million from all the subscribers that are subscribing to Benfica, that's a net
what do you mean we're giving?
Profit of 10 million.
We're not giving.
That money, the subscriptions that Benfica captures, doesn't go to the club. It goes to NOS.
Yeah, but NOS pays them. Oh, you mean rather than just go through a third party, they themselves get the subscription, keep that 30 million rather than afford it because it's 10 million profit. I see what you're saying.
So Benfica is only collecting 10 million.
And they had the option to after 3 years to renegotiate. And I guess they just came to terms, right? Recently.
Apparently they renegotiated
for the same price,
but
basically.
It's not, the details are not known. But that's a big thing. So if Benfica is capturing this revenue from the subscriptions and in turn they're handing it to NOS, when NOS is supposed to be paying us 40 million, we're really paying that 30 million to NOS.
Because Benfica on their own would have made the 30 million for having their own subscribers.
Absolutely.
Rather than now, those subscribers, rather than go through Benfica, they're going through NOS. And so NOS is getting the 30 million out of that and basically just paying 10 million out of pocket. So that's what it is. Okay. So just trying to clarify things here. Yep. I don't know. Listen, man. I'm going to say something. You guys are going to kill me, right? But I have an answer for all this. All this can be taken care of. But it's the stupid, I don't want to say stupid, but the old school process of thought in the Portuguese league, the Portuguese mentality. And look, man, with the exception of Barcelona, Real Madrid, and maybe another club here and there that's, floating over a border, the way to be successful nowadays, man, is a single owner. Forget this sausage. Bring in a rich dude who's got tremendous deep pockets. Buy out all the sausage so you don't have this crap that's going on and approving this and approving that and getting beat up by members. Man, look, it sucks, guys, but you need to roll with the times. Today's world, today's dominant footballing clubs are all owned by a single majority owner rather than a bunch of sausage. The Portuguese league doesn't make enough money. The Benfica don't make enough money off of their advertising, their stadium, their tickets. You need a dude with deep pockets that says, you know what, Victor Lindelof, you live in a beautiful city, my man. You're a starter on a team who's the face of your nation, of this nation. You're a starter on a team that's year after year in the Champions League, in a beautiful city with tremendous weather. You sure you want to go sit in Manchester on the bench? You know what? I'm going to pay you the same thing they pay you. Renato, There's no reason for you to leave at 90 years old, my man. You're home. You're the king of your own country. What are you going to go do, sit on the bench in a freezing-ass Munich? We'll pay you to stay. And all of a sudden, Benfica's able to hold on to these stars. Maybe still let them go, but not after year 1, 2, and 3. Maybe after year 5. But that's how you build a dynasty. You have to, I know you guys disagree, but, yo, you have to adjust to the times, people. The footballing world, with the exception of Real Madrid and Barcelona, those two, they're so gigantic compared to anyone else that they're not even fair to bring those guys up as examples. And it sucks. These assemblias and these sponsorships and all this crap. Look, we're gonna be peanuts. We're gonna be this is a squirrel's world, bro, and everybody trying to get a nut in it. Okay? And all we do is we get the crumbs.
I get your point.
We're not. I get your point, but it's not a.
I'm not gonna go into this because it'll be another hour.
We got time.
But I get your point, and there's
sorry,
there's logic. No, you don't need to apologize. There's logic behind it, of course. But I think that Benfica's history and the club's history and the way the club has been built, and from the early years, it's something that goes against this.
There was plenty of teams that were like that too, and they all snapped out of it. You know when people will snap out of that mentality? When they get results. Now, if you're content with being the biggest fish in Portugal and being a little faneca in the real footballing world, right? That's fine. That's cool. That's cool. You're the fish that get through the nets. When you bring in the huge nets, you get through because you're small. Nobody cares. Nobody pays. Nobody's chasing you. That's fine if that's what you're content with.
All right. Talking about nets, and I don't know how nets ties into this. Eusebio Cup that was supposed to happen in Canada, I think this Friday. So there's a lot of things that came out. Obviously, angry people, and I totally feel your pain, guys that have bought the tickets, and I know that the Ticketmaster's offered the refund, but there was guys that actually paid for plane tickets and paid for hotels to be up there, and obviously those guys are most likely going to be out of their money. So,
or just take the trip and go hang out.
Right, go hang out with Mario, not Mario.
Steve.
Oh yeah, Mario and Steve
and Neil bring beer for everybody. Sergio bring everybody t-shirts.
The thing, from what I understand, in look. And I think that this is probably the final that the promoters already put out a statement. So from what I understand, there wasn't a lot of demand for tickets because apparently the tickets were high. The fees that were agreed to be paid to each team, and I think that Benfica both teams may get a percentage of the fee up front just so that it covers travel expenses, so on and so forth. But because there wasn't a lot of demand for tickets, the promoter can come up with those fees. So at the time that Benfica needed to have those fees, the fees didn't come through. So Benfica decided to cancel the whole.
Oh, wait, before you go on, is it true the fees were roughly $200,000?
I don't know what the fees.
I heard 200. I mean, come on.
But I
go through all this trouble for that.
I heard people paying for 2 tickets over $200.
Yeah,
and that's ridiculous. $200.
That's not bad.
$200 for 2 tickets to go see a B team play.
2 tickets? That's not bad. I mean, when you consider,
anyway,
I thought it was more than that for each ticket.
So, I'm sorry for all you guys that paid a lot of money and made reservations and made plans and had, got a pass from the wife to go up to Canada, so on and so forth, and now it's all go downhill. So I feel your pain, but if you're going to be mad at somebody, it's going to be the promoter. But the other thing that I wanted to say is that Eusebio Cup should always remain in Portugal, in Lisbon, at Estádio da Luz. That's where the Eusebio Cup should be held every year. There's no reason why they shouldn't have. They have plenty of time to plan that game. And I understand that Chaco whatever, was supposed to come and they canceled at the time, but there's plenty of other teams that are out there that are willing to come to Lisbon and play. Make it the Jogo da Apresentação, Eusebio Cup.
Yeah, that's number one. That absolutely should be where the Eusebio Cup is played. Number two, I know it's easy to sit and rip Benfica, which I was initially ready to do on Saturday, but I say, let me take a step back. Let's find out all the details. And again, feel sorry for you guys that invested this money. Look, if you invested on plane trips and hotels, still go. Take the trip. I went up to Canada and I loved it.
Toronto is a beautiful city.
But that's not really
Toronto.
It wasn't
Toronto.
It's not really close, but it's close by. You can go see Steve's. By the way, Neil, if you're listening, Steve was looking for a buddy on Friday. Go hang out with Steve. But it's easy to point the finger at Benfica. ultimately this had to do with the background stuff going on. And so I know it looks ugly on Benfica, but they might actually get a pass on this. And the other thing is, if you guys, look, if you guys follow me on Twitter, as you should be, I warned you about, I told you months ago, there ain't going to be no game. I told you there's going to be no game.
It worked out that way.
I said not in Canada. Was there a game?
No.
So I'm right. There was no game. I warned you guys. You should listen to me.
You're breaking all our friends' hearts.
Saved your money at the time because I warned you all.
Anyway, so that was the last thing. And look, I know that there was guys that were very vested in this, planning trips, so on and so forth. Anyway,
it looks
sorry,
bad,
guys.
Man. It looks
bad.
Bad.
It looks bad, man. Yeah. But I don't think you could blame Benfica or Luis Vitoria because Benfica, if Benfica didn't have guarantees, they're not going to make the trip, especially now in a time that the team really needs to lock themselves up and to really reinvent the way they've been playing because, it's not working out. So I think that this time you got to be thankful that this happened, that Benfica doesn't have to travel to North America to play. And I'm sorry for all my Canadian friends. But I think that
it's not the Canadian fans. The American ones are the ones that are really traveling.
Well, but
wasting the money.
Guys are still traveling inside Canada. Canada is not New Jersey. It's big. So my apologies. Anyway, to finish up, I wanted to look at the month of October for Benfica, and a very busy month of October. Benfica's already played Marítimo on the 14th after the international break. Benfica will travel to Algarve to play Elneny for the Portuguese Cup. Then they will host Manchester United on the 18th at Estádio da Luz. On the 22nd, they will travel to Desportivo das Aves. On the 25th, host Portimonense at Estádio da Luz for the League Cup, second match of the group stages. On the 27th, they will host Feirense. And they finish off the month by traveling to Old Trafford to play Manchester United. So
Manchester.
6 games, 7 games. Total is 7 games in the month of October. I know that there's an international break in there, but nonetheless, they're going to come fast and furious. So if we don't have it together, this may be a very painful month of October for us.
Well, I know, Steve, get your resume together and email it to Benfica, bro. We might need your resume in a couple of weeks' time.
For what? What's he going to do?
New coach, man. Listen, I told you guys years ago, he needs a number 2 with a tactical brain. You guys recall?
I don't think I'm that, but it's fine.
Steve,
but
that's, man. Yo,
that's 6 games. Yeah, 6 games. 6 games in about 15 days. That's congestion. You're going to see some new guys play. Hopefully, nobody comes back from the international break injured. It's tough to say this, but I think. Some people have thrown away the idea of the Penta already. I'll only give you my answer in November. I'm pretty positive that if we can come out of this stretch, even though there's cup games and there's Champions League, if we can come out of this stretch in a good way and we're not in the same slump, there's still hope for me. I don't believe Porto or Sporting are going to win all their games or not drop points or not lose like they have till now. I still think we have a part to play as long as we could right the ship within the pretty immediate future. Past that, it's going to be, if we don't, it's going to be tough. But from now till November, if we can get some positive results, and I don't mean beating Manchester, I mean putting a performance out there that commands respect, not like getting nailed 5-0 in Basel. If we can do that, there's still hope for me this year, regardless of who's on the bench coaching us or not. I as much as I don't like Rui Vitoria, or as much as I don't, not like is not the right word, as much as I don't have confidence in him, I don't think the right move is to get rid of him, regardless.
No.
Only if in November we're in really bad shape and you just have to cut your ties and start fresh. But we're not going to win anything regardless at that point. So,
no,
I don't
Steve,
know.
on a positive note, Vilar is rumored to start next week's game.
Yeah.
Or not next week's, the Taça da Liga, Taça da Cerveja game. So we're going to get to see the kid in action and see what he's made of, because according to reports, that's Luis Vieira's handpicked guy to be the starter for Benfica.
Yeah.
And even though they're still bringing in another 22-year-old from Greece, so I don't even know how many goalies they need now, but there's apparently another one on the way in January.
Yeah. Just to answer Tony Lima, Benfica will definitely make some move in January. I very much doubt that this team doesn't move in January.
Vamos mandar o Gabigol e o Douglas para trás.
I don't even know if I'm gonna say this right. Crown Leyen. You lads think those Chinese billionaires sitting with Luis Vieira are having an impact on player purchases? I mean,
not yet.
Not yet.
No, not yet.
And I'm not even sure I want those guys. I mean, because my Milan had Chinese investors. Now apparently they're looking for more investors. I don't know. That don't look too good. So.
That isn't always the solution. But I think, I mean, if you look at it, the Portuguese league is not really a league that is that attractive for foreign investors.
Well, the Chinese are taking over Portugal with the buildings and the purchases of real estate. So I mean, it might be very formidable for.
But you know, just to get back to what Cristiano was saying, and he said, you know, when that's not going to be looked at and frowned upon when one of our opponents does it.
Well, if you look, and again, I'm even like embarrassed to be repeating this guy, but Bruno Carvalho mentioned something recently that I mentioned with you guys years ago. I think that's when I initially started, when I joined the podcast with the modalidades talk. And he said, look, ladies and gentlemen, face it, we might have to get rid of the modalidades to be able to compete on the world stage of football. And I'm not saying...
Who said that?
Bruno Carvalho. He said it just recently, last week, I believe he said it.
But didn't they just build some new pavilion or something?
But he said it last week. And if you guys are listening, Peggy, I know you're always on top of things. Check, look for that and link us on Twitter or whatever. Yeah, I mean, look, these are things that people don't want to face, right? Because it's tradition. This is what we all grew up with. This is how the country, the sports world in Portugal was built. This is what they were built on, and we don't want to face these things. We don't want to talk about these things, but you have to make a decision. If you're content with just being, club in Portugal, with huge tradition in Portugal, but realistically, with the exception of once every 10, 15 years, if not longer, where you'll make a dent in things and, make it to a quarterfinal and being content with that. I mean, that's the reality of the football world, because you said before, money doesn't solve everything. And I'm sorry. In the footballing world, money does solve everything. It's all about money, whether you have it or you don't. It's that simple.
Another one from Crownley, Ian Crownley. I think that's how I read that. He asked about the Ruben Diaz, and we addressed that earlier. It was just an experience type of thing for the choice for that. What else do I got here? Look, if you're at all the questions about does Rui Vitoria do this, do that, he has to go back to the drawing board and really play to the player's strength. So if Pizzi's not doing well in the middle, move him to the right. A couple years ago, we had Renato Sanches in the middle, Pizzi as an interior, and things worked out fine. He was able to balance the midfield. So at this point, I mean, you gotta go look and play to your strengths, because right now the team is in disarray, and I don't know how much longer you could hold this for.
But how's that a strength? Who are you gonna play in Pizzi's position?
Grovo.
Look, I'll say this much: I was excited about Krovinovic, and I'm still excited. But he replaced the terrible Pizzi on Sunday or Monday. When the hell was it? Sunday. And somehow, some way, he figured out a way to be even worse. He was terrible. Stop. He
was the only guy who was still trying to play football. Everybody else was just freaking pounding.
That's because nobody was moving.
He took 50 touches on the ball, held on to the ball
because he had nobody to pass to. He still wanted to play his way of playing football.
So what? So when you don't complete passes, you play terrible.
Up front to God knows who.
No, I mean, nobody was moving. So he was the guy that's trying to drive the ball, but no one was moving.
I actually thought he was real bad. But again,
I'm a fan. You'd have to be with the guys day in, day out. But there's players on this team that need to play. Pizzi, Zivkovic, Jonas, and I think Krovinovic is probably getting in there. The problem is how you fit them all in one system that works, and is Rui Vitoria good enough to do so?
But how can
that's the biggest thing.
How can you say Krovinovic is off of what? He's played 2 games? I mean, off of what?
Yeah, but at this point,
if you watch the kid, Chris, he's different class.
Steve, I like him. Steve, I like him. But
he's different. You watch him and the game slows down. I haven't. He's special. Seferovic is special. Jonas is special. Pizzi, maybe not special, but he's too important. He's too intelligent. He's got to play. We got to find a way to play more with these associative guys because I don't.
Look, the one thing Benfica
there's what's good out there, and we got to try to use it.
Benfica, the one thing Benfica does have plenty of is wingers, and you start to do that, and now Seferovic, which I think should be playing all the time. Guys like that, Seferovic, Rafa's gonna get. I mean, you're talking about burying guys on the bench. These guys are not going to play.
We're talking about guys that have had chances and that failed to capitalize.
But still, talking about a guy that's 16 million euros.
I think you got to stop looking at his price tag and see what he's done.
I told you already what to do. Put him at right back. He can't be worse than Almeida.
No, I don't
think it's going to happen. But I mean, look, we've. Seen
I don't agree with that.
Okay, that's fine. We've seen other guys that were just as offensive as he was, and make a living out of the back. Now, I mean, look, we'll see what happens. I mean, we just hope that this team turns it around. It was a terrible week.
Yeah.
I mean, between Basel. And then on Saturday you hear what goes on in Canada. I mean, that my heart goes out to these people. But again, it's just like it's easy to sit here and point the finger at Benfica, but apparently Benfica is the first one to drop out. I think Benfica used the situation, the fact that they've been on a bad streak of games. They use that, like, you know what, this ain't right. Maybe they could have waited another couple of days to see if they could figure out a way to make it work or not, and maybe they use the fact that they weren't playing well to get out of it, and then you go to Resultado in Madeira. It just you combine all that, and it was just a terrible,
tough period.
Yeah, tough period for Benfica.
Anyway, that's all we got. No podcast next week, as we'll have an international break. The national team will play a couple games, I believe. So we will be back the week after that, after Benfica plays. What did I say? What did I say Benfica was playing?
They play Olhanense.
Yeah, we'll
Tasa, and then
Man U.
And then Man U on Wednesday night.
We'll be back not next week, a couple of weeks.
Probably the 17th.
At 10CO10 is where you can find Cristiano on Twitter. At Steve Santos 6. At Benfica Podcast is all of us on Twitter. Benfica Podcast by Talking to the Doll with D being DA. To me, it doesn't much matter. BenficaPodcast.com, planetbenfica.co.uk. Also, I think Cristiano was giving out that FIFA
Friday.
That FIFA game on Friday.
Yeah, hit me up. Friday or Saturday. Let's slow down. Friday or Saturday, the late. I know I said the 6th, but Friday or Saturday.
Yeah.
Hit me up. Let me know why you should be the one to receive it.
That's right. And that's pretty much it for us. We will be back 2 weeks from now. And we'll let you know whether it's going to be on Tuesday or Wednesday. It might be Tuesday before the Man U game. So we'll preview Man U and discuss a few more things. That's pretty much it. Thanks for checking us out. Don't forget to subscribe via iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and all that other good stuff. We're on Facebook, and we're also around everywhere. Thanks very much. Steve, it's always good to have you back, man.
Thanks. Good to be back.
Yeah, so that's it. Thanks.
Steve hoje não rolou muito cavalo.
Não, rolou, até não rolou. Fez fintas e tudo.
Fez fintas. Não tocou muito.
See everybody. Later.